So the thing is that, if we look at that, at the sword that Dan sends, or, here's another really kind of a cool one. This is a visual metaphor too. It's
I love that.
Ultra realistic, great thing to leave behind with a receptionist perhaps, or to send to someone. I mean, now we're sending, you're not leaving anything for receptionists, but to send to someone during the times of COVID-19. So I love visual metaphors. They're just great. But the thing that I think makes a lot of sense here is to examine what we can do for a lot less money than sending a $1,000 sword. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but Dan spends $1,000 every time he sends the sword. So rather than spending so much money on those devices, I can also tell you the big board I showed you in that, I mean, I don't even sell those. There's another version that I sell that I sell for $250 a piece. So those are expensive solutions really per person. It's, and what if we had a way to do this on a much cheaper basis, on a much more ad hoc basis? And it turns out we certainly have that in what I'm calling desktop contact campaigns. So here's the thing. When I did research for these two books for how to get a meeting with anyone and get the meeting, two elements kept showing up every time. One of them was personalization. All of these campaigns involve some form of personalization. And the other was handwritten notes. Those showed up a lot. That's interesting. If you're out there trying to connect with people on LinkedIn, and of course you can, you need to show up more than just sending a connection request and having it accepted, because that's not a connection, or it's not a connection yet. And some people will reach out on DM and they'll pitch, terrible mistake, but they'll reach out and they'll they'll drum up a conversation. They might even say, let's get on a Zoom call, which is nice. I mean, that's the meeting, but get on a Zoom call. But I think if we really want to make a connection, if we really want to make an impression, sending something physical is so unexpected at this point, and something that includes personalization and handwritten notes, I think really makes a lot of sense. Well, I think what I'm describing perfectly is greeting cards. What a great, simple format to incorporate personalization and handwritten notes. And so I'm going to show you a couple of approaches to producing handwritten, or I should say, greeting cards that you can, obviously you're going to put a handwritten note in, but they can include personalization, and they have a lot of impact. So there's a next video here, and I'm going to show you. Okay, this is my program for using personalized cartoons on cards. Ignore the fact that it's my program. You don't have to use my program, but I just want to show you how this works. The idea behind Bottomless Box is to combine the power of cartoons, personalization, and handwritten notes in a card format you launch from your desktop PC and laser printer. It's like a bottomless box of cards. Here's how it works. Open the PDF file, then click the Edit button at the top of the page and fill in anyone's name into the caption. Then you simply print it out, then trim it to 10 inches by 7 inches, and then score it, and you have the perfect card to shake loose those important unreturned phone calls. I love the caption of this one. Hi Sandy, it's me again. Listen, I don't know if you've been checking your voicemail all last week, but I'm still here at the same number waiting for your call. It's the perfect way to say to someone like Sandy here, hey, you're hanging me up. Call me back. This next one is for unsticking stalled proposals. Same idea, click the Edit button, change the name, then print. This is one of my favorite cartoons. Hey Anna, listen, we've got your proposal and we like everything except having to pay you. This one has worked over and over. It reminds prospects they shouldn't be holding up you or your proposal. Notice, by the way, all of the Bottomless Box cards are 2-cut trims. That makes it much faster and easier to pump out cards to your prospects and accounts. This next card uses one of my most powerful cartoons for getting meetings. Same process. Open the PDF, click the Edit button, and change the name. But there's a twist with this one. You'll also fill in a reference to what the person does, sells, or believes. Here, we're reaching out to Steve Sample, who's in the pool business. Okay, here we go. Steve Sample says you can tell a lot about a person just by looking at their pool. I tend to agree. I'll bet Steve Sample would agree too, and if he's like most everyone else, he'll take the meeting. Most business people, if they're really on the ball, pay attention to their clients' and prospects' birthdays. It's a simple gesture, remembering someone's birthday, but it always means a lot. Here, Steve Smith stars in his very own movie about his birthday. So here we go. What a terrific movie. I thought it was so touching when they threw that surprise birthday party for Steve Smith's character. Didn't you? I think Steve Smith and all the others who receive their personalized birthday cards are going to love it. It's often said the two most powerful words in the English language are, thank you. We use this card all the time to thank especially helpful executive assistants in our Big Board program, but you can use them to thank anybody. Here's the caption. Now Greta Smith is buying a cup of coffee. Is anybody writing this down? Let's hurry up and buy our coffees first. The coffee theme is a perfect opportunity to include a Starbucks card as a gesture of appreciation. So there you have it. Bottomless Box makes it easy to reach out and touch clients and prospects in ways that will open doors and boost your business. Are you ready? Let's get going.
1, 2, 3.
I love that.
I need to make a couple of comments about that video. One is that, man, I think I sent you a fuzzy version of it. That's too bad. But, here's the thing. These cards, what I wanted to do was show you that you can personalize these cards very easily. And then wanted to show you what that process looks like, because if you're going to print it out on an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet, which is what, that's how you get paper, then you're going to have to trim it. You're going to have to score it so that you have a perfect fold each time. And so the other comment I wanted to make is I'm showing you these things in the video, and we're going to supply a PDF that shows you all of these things. It's sort of it's a visual checklist of everything you'll need to produce cards that you run from your desktop laser printer. And there'll be links to all the resources that we're talking about today in the session. So that'll come up. We'll tell you how to get that at the end of the session. But you can see, by the way, those cards, those cartoons, and especially the first couple of them, I use them, I'm embarrassed to say, all the time, because that means that people aren't returning my calls, but for example, or they're ignoring my proposals. But it happens. It happens to all of us that, people just get into ruts. I don't even think they're being rude. They're just, they see that you called, and then they just say to themselves, I can't just call back just yet. I don't have the time. I've got to do this other thing, and I'm going to call back next week. Next week comes, and then they don't call back. And before you know it, they're too embarrassed to call back, perhaps. And so it becomes this thing where they can't, it's like physically can't call you back. It's a weird thing, but they get into that. And the thing that's interesting about these cards is, I'm going to hold this one up. And so when Colin, if I sent this one to you and it's, hey, Colin, it's me again. Listen, I don't know if you've been checking your voicemail all last week, but I'm still here at the same number waiting for your call. I'm stuck out there at the gas station, and I've been out there on Route 66 somewhere for a week. So perhaps you could call me back. And the funny thing is that cartoons do a lot of things. They are the best read and best remembered part of anything they're in editorially. That's huge. They're very powerful devices. If you think about the nature of humor, humor is about truth being revealed in a twist, which is why whenever we laugh at anything, while we're still laughing, while we're still trying to catch our breath, we're saying, oh my God, that's so true, because it is true. And so humor becomes this device to get someone's attention really quickly. It incorporates personalization, so it needs to be relevant, but it incorporates personalization, and it causes people to, if they just go, they've already internalized the point of agreement you're looking for. And here it's just, hey, call me back, come on. What are we doing here? Let's just call back. So the other thing that's really interesting about cartoons is that they're just disarming. They allow you to say things that you couldn't otherwise say. And so, they're really an interesting device and a very powerful device. Now, you don't have to join that program that's mentioned in the video. We're not even going to say the name of it. I'm just going to say that cartoons are available through lots of different sources. There are cartoon banks out there. If you want to build your own cartoon card, you can do that. It's very easy to do. I will say, so I have built the Cartoon Link image bank, and it's a unique one because all of the cartoons in that image bank they're written so that they're personalized. So that's a unique. So they are absolutely well suited to personalization. But I'm not selling anything. You guys you can produce your own cards with cartoons very easily. And cartoons, they're just so good at expressing just about anything. And when someone sees it and laughs, they're in agreement with you and they get it, and it's really useful. I'm just going to pull this one up again. This is one of my favorite cartoons because someone actually said this to me. I said, hey, did you get the proposal? And they said, yeah, we like, basically they said, we like everything except having to pay you. I couldn't believe they were saying it. But it became one of my favorite cartoons. And again, when I send someone something like that, and I usually goes with a note that says, hey, sorry it didn't work out this time, maybe next time. And it's like pulling a string around a corner from a cat. They're just saying, oh my God, I don't want to miss out. And so those are the kinds of things that you want to express in your cartoon cards. I'm just going to say it's really easy to set them up. I mean, if you use InDesign at all, if you don't, someone who does, have them set it up for you because it's just really easy to do it. You want to set up a card. I would recommend that you set up a flat card. I'm going to show you again. Here it is flat. So you want to set it up so that it measures 7 inches across by 10 inches tall out of an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet. And then you trim it out and score it, and it makes just a perfect card. Really easy to do. And that enables you to start sending out some really charming bits of communication that are going to get people's attention, and they're going to really appreciate it. They probably won't throw it away. I mean, don't make the cartoon if you're changing the caption. I don't advise ever changing the captions on these because they're really hard to write, and it's a gag. It's sort of tightly wound around a stick, and any change will unravel it. And I'll tell you specifically, one change that you don't want to make is you don't want to say, well, that's great, but I want to turn this into something about me or my brand or my offer. Those things don't belong in the cartoon. If you do that, you'll kill the effect of the cartoon. Trust me, millions of dollars of test history behind what I'm saying. Don't stick your caption. I mean, don't stick your identity into the cartoon. It's about the recipient. You can write whatever you want to write inside in the message, but anyway, don't do that one thing. Now, I want to jump to the next portion of this, which is to examine how we can use profile scrapes to produce really interesting cards as well. So if we could play that last video on profile scrape cards. You can launch powerful, highly personalized contact campaigns from your desktop computer and laser printer. Since cards are visual, we'll focus on the use of profile pictures to break through. Start by visiting the target prospect's social media accounts to grab a good picture to work with. Here, we're working with Sue's profile picture on LinkedIn, then dragging it to the desktop. This will be our base picture for the cards. The first thing we're going to do is run the Envato Worn Press Photoshop effect on Sue's picture. As you can see, it does a convincing job of turning her profile picture into a Wall Street Journal style illustration. We'll then import the engraved picture into an InDesign file we've already set up with the sender's info and logo on the rear panel. We'll adjust the size, then add a text box to add Sue's name to the card. And finally, add an underscore like they do in the journal. Let's print it out and see what we've got. I'm lining it up to trim to 10 inches, then 7. Remember, this will fold down to a 5-inch by 7-inch card. Then scoring the card. All right, that's pretty cool, but it gives me an idea. Let's try something.
Here's another card I set up to look like a clipping from the Wall Street Journal. It looks more realistic and more interesting. What I really like is how it gives me the opportunity to weave Sue's name and company info throughout the story, along with the sender's name. In fact, the whole story is about Sue taking a meeting with the sender. Pretty cool. But that brings up an important point. This card has a background color going right to the edge of the card. In printer's terms, that's what's known as a bleed. And the bleed means we have to turn the card into a 4-trim piece, which makes it a little bit harder to work with. But the results are worth the trouble. Let's print this one out and see what we've got. It's looking great, but remember that 4-trim setup? So that means I have to keep in mind the first trim is at 10.5 inches, the second cut at 10 inches, then the third cut will be at 7 3/4, and the final cut at 7 inches. Remember, we're releasing a 10 by 7 card from the center of the page. Still, that's a pretty sharp card. I can imagine a pretty positive response from Sue. Let's try a new one, this time with the charcoal Photoshop action from the Envato collection. Here's Sue's original profile photo, and here it is with the charcoal effect applied. Now let's place it in the InDesign file we've set up. So for this card, we'll trim the art along the fold, and notice at the top and bottom there's no bleed, but there is along the right-hand side of the card. Leave a bit of art on that side to trim off. Notice this is a 2-cut setup, meaning the card is positioned into the corner of the page, so you only have to make 2 cuts. This simplifies trimming the card once printed. Just make the first cut at 10 inches and the second at 7 inches. Okay, that one's not bad. The point is to experiment with these and find your favorite effects. Okay, I'm anxious to try this painting effect. Look how amazing that looks. Here's Sue's original picture, and here it is with the painting effect applied. I'm not so excited about this one after all. And look what happens when we don't pay attention to bleeds. The printer cut the art off the top of the page. You'll need to pay attention to bleeds and 4-cut versus 2-cut setups. I'm also anxious to give this double exposure action a try, because I noticed on Sue's profile she had a photo of tulips with weeds growing underneath. They must mean something to Sue, so combining them should have a powerful effect. I like this effect. This is a keeper. I can see using this whenever a prospect has a clear interest in a hobby, a pet, or a favorite city. Profile scrapes, and especially profile pictures, give you lots of opportunities to use cards and handwritten messages to break through. Use what I've shown you here, but experiment and find your own most effective contact campaigns. Are you ready? Let's get going.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you're noticing the little visual metaphors at the end of these
Oh,
videos.
yeah, no, I love it.
The upturned ice cream cone. I had some fun with it. You know, the thing about these, Colin, is that all of us, we're all using LinkedIn to reach out to people. And people are doing it, they're trying to reach out to us. And we can see what's happening. The people who hit us with those pitches right off the bat, I mean, like, so I'm pretty liberal about connecting with people on LinkedIn. I never know if someone's bought my book, I want to connect with them, and I never know who may have bought the book. So I'm pretty loose about that. But if they respond with a pitch, I dump them. I just dump the connection. I hate it. It's just so ham-fisted. It's just not the way to do it. But then how do you do it? And I think you've got to do these things that cause people to just say, well, oh, wait a minute, that's pretty cool. Now, I noticed that I sent a lower res version than I meant to of the video. And so I'm going to show you this is that example shown in the, I'll see if I can get good, I don't know where to get good focus, but.
No, it looks great.
But it actually it's a really impressive effect. And what's happening here is I used a photograph that I just pulled it down out of LinkedIn, out of somebody's profile, and then I applied what's known as an action set in Photoshop. And you're going to need to use Photoshop, and the Adobe products are what I use, and those are indispensable for creating these kinds of desktop campaigns. So Photoshop allows the use of something called action sets. These are scripts. You could think of them as filters in a way. And on my favorite site, I don't make anything from this as well. They're just my favorite site for these is a site called Envato. And in the summary, I've included a bunch of links to all of these, for example, all of these effects, plus a bunch more. They've just got pages and pages, and I don't know how many it seems like they have 1,000 of these. So you can go in and you can change someone's picture into, let's say, a caricature, like a photorealistic but caricature, or into cartoon characters. There's a lot of, I know I can't even think of all of them, but certainly you can use one or some of these to create those engraved illustration kinds of art that are used in the Wall Street Journal, which is kind of, I mean, everyone seems to want a portrait in that style. So that's pretty cool. You can do this with profile pictures. You can also do it with, there's some that are architectural, we'll call them filters, but architectural filters. So you can take a picture of somebody's building and turn it into an architectural rendering. That's beautiful. I mean, these are really neat things to be able to package up into just a real simple bit of handwritten communication and really cause you to stand out. You know, and I love this one. I think you should play around with effects and be audacious, be creative, you know, have fun with this. I think that's probably the thing that maybe we should know, or we should pay attention to more than anything else, is that you want to have a lot of fun. If you're having fun, I think it comes across. I mean, I certainly was having fun when I sent that cartoon strip to Billie Jean and his assistant opened it. That's a blast. It's a lot of fun. And that's what this should be. It should be a lot of fun to reach out to people that you just figure you should never be able to reach. I think your audience, though, they're some of the most expansive optimists on the planet. They're entrepreneurs. I mean, I don't think anybody is shy about reaching out to people. We just want to make sure that we break through. And so, so these are certainly a couple of ways to break through and make yourself known.
And with inboxes these days blowing up more than ever.
Yeah.
I don't know about everybody else in the crowd, but I celebrate when I get something in the mail that is not a bill or a coupon list from the grocery store, right? Like the second I see handwritten, I'm like, oh, what's this, right?
Yeah, who is
like
this?
You already have me in a pretty quiet communication zone when I'm opening my mailbox and finding stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, so I've shown you something that's really very, in a lot of ways, it's a very simplistic solution. It just happens to have the right elements. You know, it's personalization and handwritten notes that are, the combination is so powerful. So we were talking a little bit about COVID and about just getting meetings during the age of COVID. And so we're on Zoom. This is the de facto meeting, or, you know, there are other forms of, or competing platforms to Zoom, but this now is this is what a meeting looks like. It's this. And I have seen some really, really interesting, very creative outreach approaches to people during these times. Well, you know, one of them is someone had suggested running a roundtable and I started doing it myself. Roundtables are incredible. So you can invite the people that you want to connect with, particularly if it's more than one, if it's if it's CTOs or something like that of 20 or 40 or 100 companies, whatever the number is, invite them to be a member of the roundtable. It's a member, it's a meeting of peers, and you're going to be discussing issues that everybody faces. And I can tell you that the uptake on these is terrific, and you get to have this wonderful, well, it's not just a relationship, but a relationship, also a positioning, because you are the moderator of this, and you're the one making this thing happen. And I can tell you that the effect is just magical. You end up with very deep relationships, considering you'll never, well, maybe you'll meet sometime, but you're not going to meet face to face soon. Another one that I think is really interesting is inviting people for coffee. Now, I showed in the video, I showed this cartoon, and And I said, I use it as a thank you card, even though it doesn't say thank you. But it's just, they're spying on you while you buy a cup of coffee. And I think it is a great way to send. I think it's a great thing to include a Starbucks card in, perhaps, to say, hey, why don't we, I'd love to talk with you. I'd love to talk or meet with you over a cup of coffee on Zoom. Can we do that? And just the fact you're reaching out that way and offering up the cup of coffee, I think is a pretty cool thing. If we were meeting in person and you were dropping stuff off at the front office, at the front desk, I'd be saying, leave one of these, with your tails on it. Leave one of these with a Starbucks card in it and a note saying, hey, I stopped by. Sorry we didn't get a chance to meet while I was here, but can we get together for a cup of coffee? And that's a really innocuous thing to be able to do on Zoom. I even heard of some marketers doing something really clever. This was in the UK, where I guess people are more apt to be drinking beer socially, but they can't. I mean, the pubs are shut down, or they're outside anyway, but by and large, they're shut down. This certainly was one when they were shut down. They were sending bottles of beer to their homes, to their home addresses, and saying, let's throw a couple back together. Let's meet on Zoom. And I mean, we've now, since then, we've seen just such a rapid evolution of what meetings are these last several months, because we couldn't meet in person. In some ways, I think this is actually a good thing, because people aren't traveling as much. They aren't commuting. They have more free time. They're much more open to having conversations at home now, because they have to. They're working from home. They're running their businesses from home. And so I've also found that people are much more open to receiving things at home if you ask them. So I mentioned the roundtables. I asked, would you like a copy of my book? And so if you would, then let me know, and I'll send you one. And these were prospects for large campaigns, so it was worth it to me to do it. Of course, then you ask, well, okay, great. What's the best address to send it to? Obviously, it's going to be their home address. So when you do that, then you have buy-in or opt-in to people receiving things at their home. I think even at that may not even be a problem anymore, because we're working from home. We know what it means. This is where we're operating out of, and so we have to be open to receiving things. So I hope all of that helps, because I know that was a big concern going into this. You can send cards, certainly. I mean, sending if you send, here's one of my big boards. I know I won't even be able to fit it into the camera. That's huge. This thing is 18 by 24 inches. And it comes in this big packaging. And I think that if I sent that to someone's home, it might, and they didn't know it was coming, it might be too much. But a card, I think, is probably perfect for this, because, it's just a card. It's innocuous. On the other hand, it's going to really stand out. So it's a really simple solution, but it's something that's available to all of you, because I'm sure all of you have desktop PCs and laser printers, and you can be doing a lot from just those two pieces of equipment.
I love it. So Stu, question from that I'm sure many are thinking, that I don't have a printer at home. So is this pretty easy to do at like a FedEx or UPS or something like that, a store that has printers, and I assume the paper cutters?
I don't know what FedEx or the UPS stores have for rotary trimmers and scoring machines, but in the summary that I'll send out, it has links to be able to buy those pieces of equipment. But if you don't have a printer, good point. And I have a pretty large printer, pretty nice hefty printer. You want a printer that, look, you're going to be running this on cardstock. This stuff is, it's pretty stiff. So you want a laser printer with a straight paper path option. You don't want to, you wouldn't want to be asking your laser printer to bend this 12-point stock around a roller. So yeah, it might be a solution to send the files over to FedEx or well, I guess it is Kinko's too, but FedEx, Kinko's or UPS. So in that case, you can output to let's say a PDF and have them print it out. And you know, if they'll do it, have them score it and trim it.
Super helpful.
You know, I should also mention cards are one thing, but you can also, since we're talking about 8x10, sorry, we're talking about 8.5 by 11-inch sheets. Well, there's a standard frame size of 8x10. You can go out and buy frames at Fred Meyer or Walmart or whatever. They're not very expensive. And so you could also be putting your favorite cartoons, particularly if they're personalized, but you could be putting them into frames. You could be sending out 8x10 prints from your desktop PC as well. That'd be kind of a cool thing too. But anyway, yeah, you know, it may not sound like it isn't earth-shattering stuff. Greeting cards, they've been around our whole lives, but right now they're very contrarian, and that makes me very excited. Some people will say, "Oh my God, that's just old school." Well, whatever. I'm more interested in what works. And right now, in fact, what always works is to be contrarian. And right now, people aren't sending things through the mail, you know, except for the bills.
Yep.
Yeah, and ballots. But another story.
Oh yeah, dude, this is all such great stuff, and I'm sure the attendees are looking forward to looking at your follow-up PDF that's going to have all the materials for things that they could do after this. Couple comments and potential questions from the group here. Thanks guys for joining. We've got, and if you guys have any questions just off the top, please put it in the Q&A function. We'll try to get to all of them. So we've got John Coe says, thanks for the mention in your book. So big shout out to you. So shout out to John. We've got one person who is addressing what I think you were just speaking to, is like some people at his organization may think these methods are tacky. So how do you stay authentic, or how do you avoid it coming off like that when you do it?
Don't make it tacky. I mean, that's really kind of the simple answer. I don't know what, you know, I hope all of you will go out and start creating your own cards. But some cards are better than others, so don't make it tacky. You can't help it. You know, the thing is, I think I know what they're talking about too, though. It's just, you know, if you send something and it's, well, let's say we're all familiar with, I hope nobody on the call is working for Geico, but we're all pretty familiar with Geico commercials because they keep running them all the time. And I think they get all of us to roll our eyes, just saying, wow, could they just, you know, stop it? Could you come up with something else? Because they're never funny. Now, here's the problem. They have fallen into the trap of making the humor about themselves and about their brand. That's all, and that's what the Gecko is about. And it's always about them, their brand, or their offer, which I mentioned it before, it kills humor. So don't make it, I mean, these need to be relevant to the recipient. You know, if I was going out to someone who I found out through a profile scrape is maybe they have a show dog and it's a pug, then I would make the cartoon about the pug and they're going to love it. There was a story of now this departs from cards, but there was a story of this one fellow who read my book. He was selling for a late stage startup, and what they were told to do, they were sales development reps. What they were told to do is make 100 phone calls a day, and they quickly discovered that this was doing nothing except wasting time. They get maybe one conversation a day and no sales. And so he read the book and he decided, okay, good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a profile scrape. I'm going to find out as much as I can about this person. And he discovered that the person was really interested in cooking and technology and family. So 2 out of 3, he had a barbecue apron embroidered with a Stanley C. Clarke quote about technology sufficiently advanced will appear as magic. Sent it to the guy. This is someone that they had none of his colleagues had been able to reach or break through to. The guy responded immediately and said, "Oh my gosh, I love this. Thank you so much. what did you want to talk about? And they put together a 6-figure deal. And,
Nice.
and then his cohorts said, what did you just do? How are you breaking through? And he said, well, this is what it is. And well, would you help us do this? Sure. So the first colleague he helped, they went and again did another profile scrape and discovered that the guy was really into falconry. So they went to a falconry site, talked to the owner and said, what do we send as a gift? And he said, falconers use these gloves. I don't have the glove on, but they've got this one single ornate glove that they use, and that's the perfect gift. And here's one you should send. So they bought it. They also downloaded the picture, sent it to the prospect and said, I'm sending this over to you. I'm sending you this. Just wanted to let you know. And I wanted to have a conversation with you. He wrote back immediately. This was someone that, again, no one had been able to reach. And he wrote back right away and said, that's so cool. Thank you so much for doing that. Now, I'm not a prospect. That's why I haven't been responding. But listen, I really appreciate I just really appreciate the spirit of this. So thank you so much. Then the glove arrives. And as soon as that happened, he was right back in touch and he said, hey, remember I wasn't by the way, got the glove, I love it. But remember I said I wasn't a prospect? Well, I'm not, but I know of 3 CIOs who are, so I'm gonna make introductions, and more deals ensued. So I think the message in all this is make it relevant to the person you're reaching out to. And I think you'll be very, very surprised by the results that you achieve. And if you want more, if you're thinking of doing something and you want more feedback from me, I'm happy to give it. I'm going to be giving my email address. And so if you want to reach out to me and run something by me, I'm happy to do it. Happy to help.
Awesome. Question from Jade. Would you send an e-card? And do you think that would be as effective?
Well, the thing about e-cards, I'm going to just say no. I personally, I think she's asking for my personal reaction. And I'm going to say no, because they're not tangible. You can't put them up the wall. You can't show it off very easily. It doesn't seem like a lot of effort went into it. And, it lacks handwriting. So I would say no, I think it lacks too much. As opposed to having something physical showing up and with your handwritten message, I just think that's 100 times more powerful. But here's the other problem with e-cards and others. I'm getting this quote unquote card from someone, and really what it is a link. And it looks a lot like, or could look a lot like, a phishing email. And so I don't click on links like that. So someone could make it look absolutely real, like it looks like it's coming from e-cards and so on. It's very easy to do, to fake that. And then there you are clicking on a link that you shouldn't be clicking on. So I just don't do it. I'm just very, very cautious about doing that.
No, yeah, I think that's super helpful. Question from Robert. He says, curious about what you know about setting custom cards or contact marketing pieces to offices now. Are corporates sending them to their employees' homes, or have you heard anything about offices forwarding mail to employees? Should you send it to the office, or should you find their address?
I think, okay, so here's the thing about contact marketing, just in general. This is not about going to a lot of people. It's about going to the handful of people, or a relative handful of people who have the power to change your scale. So they're really important to you. And I think they're worth doing a little bit of research. And that would include calling their office and saying, when we're sending big boards out, we talk to assistants. This was before COVID, and also, we would talk to the assistant and say, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm calling because I'm sending a print of a cartoon by one of the Wall Street Journal cartoonists, and it's about your boss. And, recipients, the assistants will say, what, really? Yeah, so look, I want it to be a surprise to your boss, but not you. Would you mind if I send you an email with the details, all that stuff? Well, so that call would change now, because now what we want to say is, I'm calling because I'm sending a print, but I actually need to figure out where to send it, because I could send it to the office, but could you help me with what's the best address to send it to? So I think it just involves an additional question. What's the best place to send it to? And I think if you're reaching out to someone who's that important to you, you should do a little bit of homework ahead of time and find out what's the best place to send it to. And you might not, I don't think an assistant is going to say, well, here, send it to their home address. I don't know that they're going to give it out, but they'll give you a solution.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's super helpful. Yeah. Alberto says, how do you break through voicemail?
What's funny is thank you, Alberto, for the question. It's similar to another question I often ask, which is, how do you stand out in an email? Because, we're all getting a lot of email, and that's the problem. We're all getting a lot of email, and we're, probably all getting a lot of voicemail too. That might be the problem. Well, one way would be this cartoon. That's why that cartoon exists. Because it's like, dude, or ma'am, call me back. I've in my research, again, for the 2 books, I heard all kinds of funny things, interesting things. Some said, well, I like to call up and I'll say, hi, my name is Stu. My number is 206-286-8668. And I'm calling because I have and then they hang up. So I think that's manipulative. I don't really, it's funny, and I'm mischievous as hell. So I like that part of it, but I think you want to be a little more honest than that. I would say that, you don't want to leave too many of them, because I think in all cases, you want to avoid crowded channels. How do you stand out? Or why would you want to try to stand out in a crowded channel when you can choose other channels and stand out more and more easily? So, if you're having trouble getting through using voicemail, use something else. I think that would be the message.
Super helpful. All right, team, we've got 2 minutes left with Stu. And just a quick reminder, if you would be so kind to fill out the survey to tell us what other programs like this one you'd like to see, we'd really appreciate it. So in the chat, there is a link to the survey. And Stu, I think this has been amazing. Question is, what do you think? Because I mean, obviously this is a lower, the desktop marketing is definitely, contact marketing is lower budget than buying a $1,000 sword.
Well, they're both contact marketing, but then from the desktop, that frees you from spending a lot. I don't know. You don't even have to spend a lot of money per person now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally. No, yeah, I love it. And so I guess, and this is just coming off the top of my head, with QR codes, I mean, what's your goal? Like, is that going to be something that you're looking into using, or is it the same thing that you're thinking from a link perspective, where it's like people would be less open to using a QR code because it could be leading somewhere? So what's your call to action in these greeting cards? Is it a phone call? Is it an email? Is it a mix?
Well, the thing is, in contact marketing, I'm always comparing it to direct marketing too. So in direct marketing, there's that business reply card or a phone number or a QR code or something else. That's known as the response device. In contact marketing, you are the response device. So I think it's incumbent upon you to do the outreach, and I'd be calling, actually, or at least emailing to find out if they got the card. I just mentioned email as being a crowded channel, though. So am I contradicting myself? And I hope not. But the thing is that, in my book, I've also listed email as it can be a form of contact marketing. But I think that, and this really is borne by a lot of the interviews that I did, that the copy needs to be very, very short. In fact, in my book, I'm saying 12 words or less, because people are getting too much email. So for one thing, make it easy to read. If you open up an email and there are paragraphs after paragraphs, you're not going to read it. It's just not going to get read.
I'll get to this later.
Yeah, I'll get to it later, and it never happens. So make it really, really short. Now, the person who told me that was Aaron Ross, who's the author of Predictable Revenue. Really brilliant guy. And Aaron told me that he once sent an email to Mark Benioff, the CEO and founder of Salesforce, an important guy. You know, he's got a lot going on. He's not easy to reach, one would expect. But he said, you know, I figured out what his email address was. That's kind of easy to do. And so I sent him this email, and it just said, "We do this. Is this of interest?" And he said he got a response within 30 seconds. And I thought, you know, the mischief of this is just too much to resist. I'm going to try that. So as soon as I got off the interview with him, I tried it. And sure enough, he got back to me within 30 seconds. So so keep these messages really, really brief. Anyway, back to how do you follow up? I think you follow up as much in person as you possibly can. And so it's phone and it's email, but very brief email, very personal emails to say, hey, did you get the card? Can we put together a Zoom? I don't know, something like that. Or when's good for you? Keep it really, really short. Maybe even send them an invite. Try that. If you have their email address, send them an invite. And in the invite, tell them, hey, I hope you got the card. I'd love to talk with you. Here's a 15-minute Zoom.
I love that.
That's how I would do it.
Oh yeah, super helpful. Well, Stu, we're over time a little bit, but thank you so much for taking the time to speak to our community today and share your insights. On behalf of everybody on our team and everyone in attendance, we're super grateful for you sharing your wisdom and some of these cool tips. Just for everybody else on the call, we've got some great upcoming events. Next Tuesday, October 13th, we've got Cliff Worley talking about top startup tools to attract customers online. So check that one out. And then also on Thursday, October 15th, we've got Power of the Fourth Quarter with Meredith Elliott Powell. So hope you guys can send to join us on those ones. And we'll follow up with all of Stu's amazing materials that he is so gracious for sharing with us today. And Stu, just a big shout out. I love what you do and I love the methods. And I'm just, I'm looking forward to using them myself. So
Hey,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you. And should we give my email address? So I'm happy to send that summary. If you want to send me an email, would that be okay?
Of course, yeah, we could send your email and the follow up to the attendees. So
okay, great. Good.
All right,
well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for coming.